CEO of Self-Help, and want to welcome you. We're blessed to have legislators with us. We're blessed to have clients with us. We're blessed to have our community partners with us. Self-Help, just a 1-minute overview. We're a community action agency, and we were founded in 1965. And John Kennedy had an agenda. And when he passed, President Johnson, in a short amount of time, less than a year, put through all these social programs. And one of those programs founded Self-Help Inc. So we're one of 23 communities in Massachusetts. We're one of about 1,100 throughout the country. We all have different names. Our sister agency is here from Citizens for Citizens. We all have different names, but we do a lot of the same stuff. Although when we were designed, we have the flexibility that within our region, we can really fine tune and give the service to those clients that we need. So one of those original programs was the Head Start program. And we have 6 schools with 700 kids. And, many people feel that that's the most successful social program ever devised. And it's still working today. And we're helping kids and families. We provide tremendous services to them. Now, related to fuel assistance, in the 1970s, the energy crisis, that was the beginning of us delivering assistance. And Congressman Joe Moakley was wonderful. He actually was in our district, and he's been gone probably 20 years now. But he was one of the founding architects of that legislation. So it really has worked well. It seems like every year we need more. But this is an energy crisis as well. So we're here today to create awareness. Perhaps the average benefit may just fill 1 tank of oil. And we know that folks need 3 or 4 to get through the winter. So if you look at it that way, a lot of our clients are going to be out of resources by the end of November. So we're here to talk about that, but we're also here to talk about what happens when you qualify for fuel assistance. So many years ago, a client called me and she was so grateful, and she was crying on the phone. She said, "I cannot believe what Self-Help has done for us." So she wasn't on fuel assistance. I'm not sure how she made her way to us, but once you get approved on fuel assistance, it opens up all these other conservation services. So we have weatherization, which is great because that those funds, it stretches them more, the funds that they get. We can replace heating systems, believe it or not, which can be between $7,000 and $12,000. You get a discount on your electric rate of 25%. So even if you applied and never took $1 from our services, you are going to be saving money through that vehicle. And we also do oil tanks if your oil tank is deficient. So she came into us, never being in the program. She was elderly, living on a fixed income. So we got her a new heating system. We certified her for fuel assistance. We got her a new oil tank, and we filled up that tank with oil, and we get them the discount rate on electricity. So, and it's, I think there's a perception that you have to be basically making no money. A family of 4 that makes under $81,000 would qualify for those services. So it's very, very important. So I'm going to introduce Joe Diamond. Joe Diamond is the executive director of MASSCAP, the Massachusetts Association for Community Action. Next month will be Joe's 30th year at the organization, and he still has a bit of hair. But, we're so blessed to have Joe within our network. 20 years ago, it was different, but now he's such a critical component of our business. And all the 23 organizations in Massachusetts, we're a part of that organization. So I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Thanks, John. John yesterday innocently asked me how long I've been with MASSCAP. I had no idea he was going to mention that just now. Years, about 3 years ago, John is part of the board. The board honored me for 20 years of service. I said, thank you very much, but it's been almost 30. So that has to do with, I don't know if I've not changed that much, but time does fly, I suppose. John, thank you very much for hosting this today. And we want to thank folks who helped pull this together. We have really a wonderful group of speakers today, so we won't introduce them yet, but I do want to thank folks who are here who support us. The Department of Housing and Community Development is a critical partner in fuel assistance and a critical partner across many, many programs. And I just wanted to say hello to Dietza Wooden-Wade, to Lauren Wallace, and to Ed Kiley, and they're all sitting together. So if you want to say hello, thank you very much. By the way, we're streaming live, and the reason we're able to do that is Lisa Clay in our office, Director of Communications, and what else? You do everything else. And Isabel Dickens-Bowman is also with us from MASSCAP, who runs our training program. And I also wanted to thank John and his team, Chris McLean, who is the CFO, Leslie Dunn, who is the planner, and then Ambrose Shannon, who's not here, who runs the fuel assistance program. We come together here today at SHI and via YouTube during a very trying time when people we serve are facing unprecedented energy crises and inflation. And as we emerge pandemic, John mentioned and noted with some detail, the MASSCAP is the association of the 23 federally mandated anti-poverty agencies that serve a variety of blended programs. Fuel assistance is perhaps the most universal of those programs. Again, it does lead to the other programs that John mentioned. We're honored to have so many allies here, represented here today, friends and supporters, which I would say are emblematic of how important fuel assistance is and other heating help programs are to the health and the safety and well-being of households across the state. It's also a housing preservation program. When you think about it, it is a lot more than just an economic support program. In terms of supporting health, the Boston Medical Center found several years ago that people who are able to access fuel assistance, children develop well in those homes when they have an access to fuel assistance. So it's a health and support program. Just a few quick statistics. We serve up to about 160,000 households each year across the state. Applications are up this year from last year. New applications are up, recertifications are up. We expect that to continue. Having said that, apply, because there will be resources. There will be resources for you. We have been blessed to be able to work with elected officials, some of whom are here today, who have been the strongest of advocates related to the resources at the federal level and at the state level that come to us for fuel assistance. We are in contact with them almost on a weekly basis. Liz, who will be speaking a little later, can tell you about that, to talk about the need. So we hope that through that communication, that resources can be increased on the federal level and even on the state level to support this program. Having said all of that, thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to John.
We're lucky to have two clients with us that have received services, and I'd like to call up Eva Haynes, and so we're like old friends now, Eva, right? So she has received assistance, but also more importantly, she received a new heating system, and she's in queue to have her house weatherized. So we asked you, you said you'd be happy to say a few words. So we'll let you do that.
Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here. I have had the pleasure of meeting this wonderful individual, Don Carlson. We bonded. we bonded over like 3 conversations. And it's a wonderful thing when you meet someone and you feel comfortable with them. And I am here because I am so grateful and thankful for this program that has done so much for me. I believe I was calling the gas company, was it Eversource, to talk about my bill being so high, and what I can do. And I believe they were the ones that told me to check with self-help. So that was my introduction. So since March of 2019, I've been receiving fuel assistance that has saved my life. Having this program is such a good benefit. I have come to realize how blessed I am and how fortunate I am that I was introduced to this program. And just let me know anyone that has had the struggles that I have had. I would be so happy to share and refer this program to them. I then in November of 2019, after I'd been in the program a few months, my furnace went. I had no heat. I did not have heat for 9 days. I was so embarrassed. I was humiliated. I didn't tell my family. Different things I heard, like I used my oven for gas, and I knew that that was a danger to have it on continuously. So I was also told to boil hot water, boil water, and the steam. That destroyed the walls in my home because they pucker when they're filled with liquid. So then, when I contacted self help, and after 9 days of being without heat, they supplied a brand new furnace for me. It was right at the peak of when the cold, bitter cold was going to take effect. November the 8th of 2019 was when I got the furnace. Every October that comes in, I thank God that I have heat. I know that we take some things for granted, but my life has had a huge and profound and tremendous effect with the self-help program. I don't know what I would have done. I don't know where I would have been had I not had the assistance of self-help. Then when they came in to do the inspection for the weatherization, my tenant's refrigerator had gone. I had no money to replace it. They then supplied a brand new stainless steel refrigerator for my tenant. Boy, oh boy, I am just so grateful and thankful for this program. I hope and pray that there will be more people that are able to be blessed with this program. I am just so proud to be a part of this program, and I look forward to things still coming up where I get assistance from self-help. I am so grateful for John. When he asked me if I would be willing to speak, I will shout this out everywhere, anytime. Just say, Eva, could you speak? Yeah, yes, yes. So I just want to say, I hope this program will forever be. I hope that it will be funded more and more, because this is a time after the pandemic where there are more people that are really hurting and suffering. So I just want to say thank you to self-help. thank you to John Carlson for asking me to come up here and let it be known how grateful and thankful that I am.
Eva, and we're blessed to have you. Thank you very much. So I'd like to introduce Joseph Dunn, and he's a Randolph resident, one of the communities that we serve, one of the 30 communities we serve. And you said you wouldn't mind saying a few words today as well. So thank you.
My story's a little different. At the height of our business, my wife and I owned 5 restaurants and had 125 employees. We left that business slowly on purpose because of our son. But by the time we started changing our business habits and moving to Randolph from the Cape, we were slowing down, but we still had a really substantial catering business. And it basically, I worked part-time for the town of Randolph, but I also had a catering business. Well, COVID happened and the catering business disappeared like overnight. So I think I was telling Pat Murphy I had 36 contracts out, and within a week with emails, I had none. So the business just disappeared. Unfortunately, people think restaurants suffered, but they don't realize also along with that was catering. So so we lived off our savings, and then that went away. And I didn't know what to do. I don't have any family. My family's all passed away. My wife's family, they're in a not the greatest situation with health. So someone pointed me in the direction of a lovely woman named Patricia Hilliard, and she works here at Self Help, and she was amazing. And Pat Murphy also. So both of them were amazing. So they were able to help me out, walk me through the process, because I, like Eva, my furnace had kind of shot it. It was done. And the quotes I was getting was $15,000 to $18,000. This was December. And I luckily didn't have the same issue as you with the heat going out, but I was close to it. And everyone, even though they were offering to do the work, they couldn't tell me a day they could come in. So they knew that my furnace was going to go, and there's nothing they could do. So Pat Hilliard was able to get somebody with the help of Pat Murphy in within about 6 days. And I was able to get a new furnace. And being my own person my whole life, I'd never asked anyone for help. It was the first time. It was kind of different. I was scared, to be honest. But once you realize that people are there to help you, it changes the way you think about things. And you realize, like, okay, well, this is a weird time, and then I think from that process, and then Pat's follow-up, Patricia's follow-up with me, made me look at things differently when I can try and help somebody. So I'm luckily during COVID, I was able to get a full-time job with the town of Randolph, because I don't ever see catering coming back, so I'm not going to depend on it. And through that process, I get to help people with my job, even though it's not typically helping people that need assistance. I'm able to help the town residents, and I really enjoy that. So I think that was the experience I received from it. Pat didn't tell me I was going to speak in front of anyone. I didn't know that. I thought I was taping something, and some dress this way, and I went on the road today for my job. So I do apologize for my attire. But everyone here has been great, and it's an interesting learning process, as Eva said, that you just know that someone's out there for you, and to experience that is very humbling, and to realize these people every day show up, that's what they do. It's pretty amazing. So I give kudos to everyone. I thank you very much. Don't think I'm rude. I'm going to head that way and go back to work. Thank you again.
That was great. I mean, if you have $100 in your wallet, how are you going to pay for a heating system that's $8,000, $10,000, or $12,000? So I want to, with Congressman Lynch, I want to say when I met Joe Moakley, he was the first national legislator I met, and I was quite nervous about it. But he put me at ease. And after that meeting, he talked about his beginnings, and he came from a very humble situation. He lived in subsidized housing, and I don't think you have to be you can still represent people if you're of means, but like our self-help board, we have a tripartite board structure. And one section is low income, or those that represent low income. And at our board meetings, we've noticed there's a different perspective, and that's what's great about our board membership. And Congressman Lynch, came from humble means, and obviously is the American success story. Now a major lawmaker, in the United States of America. So Congressman Lynch represents over 15 of our 30 towns. So by far, he represents most folks under our umbrella. So, and he's been so gracious to come today. And we were talking before this event started, and if that is the average, if the average is $1,000 and that's one tank of oil, there's no question that we have to get help from somewhere, and we're lucky to have some of our state folks here today. So we don't want to get greedy, but we just want to advocate for the people that that we serve. And it's it is an energy crisis, especially with National Grid going up, 64%, EverSource going up. So there's not a lot of positive things that are happening in relation to that. But the positive thing is that we have Congressman Lynch as our representative. So.
Jonathan, thank you for your kind remarks. Joseph, thank you. Eva, thank you so much for putting a beautiful face behind this program. And Joe Dunn, I know, has scooted out and gone back to work. God bless him. Great to be here. And I do want to say that I'm well aware, as Jonathan mentioned, how closely Joe Moakley was associated with this program and was there at the very beginning. Joe grew up in the Mary Ellen McCormick housing development. I grew up across the street and much later in life, but grew up in what is now the Ann Lynch Homes at Old Colony, named after my mom. But when you grow up in the housing projects, you have humble beginnings, you tend to easily empathize with people who are in a tough spot. And I think if you look at our housing stock and our situation here in the Northeast, we have some of the oldest homes, the oldest infrastructure, the oldest heating systems, but we are more desperately reliant on those systems in order to live safely and securely. I do want to recognize that my colleagues in the Senate will be joining us, I think, remotely shortly thereafter. But Ed Markey and our senior senator, Liz Warren, are going to join. And I could not have better partners in this effort than Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Ed Markey. They have been absolute champions, and things are a little tougher in the Senate right now than they are in the House. So I really deeply appreciate their situation. So we have a convergence of impacts, I think, on the Northeast right now. So we are coming out of a pandemic, hopefully. We have tremendous financial stress being experienced by a lot of families. So people are in a tough situation, like you heard from Joe Dunn. His business went under, and now he had to scramble and find another job. And there are a lot of families like that right now that are struggling financially. Now we have the situation in Ukraine, and Russia has cut off major oil supply. I think they're like 20% of the world's oil supply. So their supply is restricted right now because of their actions in Ukraine. OPEC has also taken action, including Saudi Arabia, against the interest of many countries that are reliant on fuel oil and natural gas. And quite frankly, that has driven up the cost, right? There are supply chain problems with energy right now. Not only are we struggling with the costs of natural gas, which has gone up about 60% since last year, and heating oil. And I want to remind people that while most of our people are on natural gas, there are many families, and I found this over the last 20 years being in Congress, that a lot of the families that are struggling also have these old heating systems that are reliant on heating oil. So thank God we have, places like Self-Help and MASSCAP that will provide that assistance to redo those systems and to rescue people, really. As we heard in Eva's situation, going 8 or 9 days without heat is that's a threat to your life. Never mind your comfort and your daily situation. But I am very proud that over the last, since September, we've been able to put $1 billion at the federal level, $1 billion into the low-income heating assistance program. So what that means now, that's nationally. So giving $1 billion to everybody in the country gives about $37 million to Massachusetts. And quite frankly, because of the increase in costs, because natural gas is up 60% and still going upward, and heating oil is still going up, and the supply has been restricted. So we're worried about being able to, there are some people who are predicting brownouts where we might not have enough natural gas, we might not have enough heating oil to supply those in need. We're worried that the price will go even further upward, and that will displace a lot of people. So I'm worried that $37 million will not do enough. And so I know we've had conversations, myself and Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey and even, Attorney General Maura Healey, who may, God willing, become our next governor. We've had discussions there about the increased incidence of severe weather events. Now, if you look at the National Weather Service and what they're predicting, they're saying that the Northeast may, in fact, receive a lot more snow and have more severe weather events than we have had in the past. So we've got to worry about that. So while I'm thankful for the $1 billion that we were able to pass, and I'm very happy to see that is available right now through wonderful groups like MASSCAP and Self-Help, I am keeping an eye on things as we go forward, as winter sort of rolls out here. And I'm mindful of the fact that we may need more. So, and it will take all of us. It will take all of us in terms of making sure that the situation for people at risk remains top of mind for all of us. And we're very, very lucky, I think, in this area to have a wonderful delegation. Not only, Mayor Bob Sullivan is my partner in this and is keenly aware of the needs of families in Brockton. Mike Brady, who is our state senator and has been a valiant champion, has also been keenly aware of this issue. And today, we have in the state of Massachusetts, our highest ranking public safety official is our fire marshal. And we have Peter Ostrowski, who's here as our chief fire marshal. And that has a direct impact, the situation with our heating oil and how we respond to severe weather events is directly in his lap. And we are very, very lucky that he is intensely invested in the safety and the public safety and the welfare of all those families who might be struggling this winter. So I want to say thank you to everyone who has been part of this effort. Your voices are being heard in Washington, D.C., and we are well aware of our continuing obligation to make sure that we help you do the wonderful work that you do. So I'm very glad to be here. I, like Joe Dunn, might have to scoot out. I have another meeting shortly, and the weather's not helping with traffic, unfortunately. But it's an honor for me every day to represent the 8th congressional district in the United States Congress. May God bless you all and keep you safe. And to my friends at Self-Help and MASSCAP, keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Congressman. So I wanted to let you know, so fuel assistance is a federal benefit, and we've been very fortunate the last few years to actually receive additional funds through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And how that works is it's through our legislature, our senators and representatives. And so the first person I call is usually on the Senate side, is usually Senator Brady. He's such a good friend to self-help. And just a few minutes ago, I said, do you mind if I tell the story about how the kids were climbing on you like a jungle gym and singing happy birthday to you? He said, no, that's fine. So he's come to our Head Start site and read to our kids. And he said that it's a nice diversion from all the heavy, hard work that they have to do. So Senator Brady is a friend of self-help. We're lucky to have him as a partner. So Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Executive, and thank you as well. And thank you to Congressman Lynch and our two U.S. Senators. We have a great engagement with a federal delegation and a local delegation in our mayor and city council's office, because nobody did this alone. And I want to thank Self-Help for all the work. And as he mentioned, I did go to one of their events, and the young children were singing "Happy Birthday" to me, and it made my whole day, because, as you know, some days we don't have always a sunshiny day like the weather today, and you deal with a lot of information to help people, and that takes you off your day's struggles and it makes your day. And I want to also, recognize head of the Janice Fitzgerald, excuse me, I got a blooming nose, but the Council on Aging, because they're the same way. You go into the office and they're just so sweet and they never forget you. So we have tried to put some funding as well at the state level. And I know we may need to put more, and hopefully, people talk about the surplus the state has and so forth, and they want tax breaks, but they don't realize some of that money is used for emergency situations. As was mentioned, we're predicting a very serious winter this year. I've already gotten a call from a nurse who's making good living, but she's got a lot of medical expenses that she had to go to the hospital for, and we've had to already talk with Self-Help to try to help her out. And I want to give the two people credit for their speeches as well. They were wonderful. They hit you right here. And I even owned a multifamily years ago where at least I could afford to put the furnace in. I had a local plumber, and back then it cost us $8,000, but I got a multifamily and he did most of the work. He kind of was the expert. I just helped get in there. But I also learned to put my thermostat at different settings, 4 different settings. So when my tenants are at work, you keep it down lower, and then when they're back home, you put it back higher. But I got to make sure the batteries change. And as the fire marshal would say, you got to make sure during this time of the year with the timing change, you got to make sure your smoke detectors are working and the other detectors. And it's all basic things, but we got to make sure that we raise enough revenue to give back to these families that are so much in need. And it's tough. I come from a very humble family. My parents never owned their own home. My father, we lived in a multifamily in Brockton. My father did drywall. My mother was a stitcher in the clothing factories. And when the wintertime came and there was no construction work, he was out of work. And we know how it is. Never mind putting food on the table, never mind paying for your utility bills. And I remember when OPEC took over with the shortage of fuel, the lines with the odd even cars back in the 70s. And now OPEC is playing games again, holding back production of their resources that we desperately supply and depend on their sources, as well as what's going on with Ukraine. So we are there to help you with any way we can. It's going to be a tough season, as we know. As I mentioned, we could have potential heavy colds and snow. So any help we can be moving forward, please let us know, because we work for you. And as was mentioned, despite the tough days, when I go to a young child's event, when they sang happy birthday to me, that made my whole day. If I go to the Brockton area ARC, they never forget. These are people that just want to work. They're struggling, and they just remember Mike Brady and just make sure whole day. And same with the people at the Council on Aging. And I like all the work. I want to congratulate Janice Fitzgerald, because, I'm 60 now. If a couple more years, I may be attending that thing as a resident or as elected official, but they've paid their dues. Some of the greatest generation, like my parents, have passed on, but we don't forget they provided for us ahead of time. And as the Congressman mentioned, a lot of these old homes, I own an old home. I've got 3 different generations of windows, from the old weighted ones, and the ones that I put in. But both the towns that were mentioned from Brockton and Randolph. I represent both towns, so I'm glad we can help that area out. But moving forward, the most important thing is any ideas you think we should be moving forward with. And there is more revenue to help out and work with our federal delegation as well. So thank you everyone for being here. I'm just great to be a part of this.
Next, I want to introduce, so we contacted Mayor Sullivan's office, and he's actually at a mayor's, like a summit out in Western Mass, but he was kind enough to have a couple of his aides come to us. So John Messia, he's a director of constituent services, and he would say a few words. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. As we know, the tremendous work self-help does. Mayor Sullivan sends his regards. He'd obviously rather be here than a 3.5-hour drive to Western Mass. But on his behalf, I'm Director of Constituent Services, which is the front lines in the city of Brockton, gateway city, 106,000 people. And I can attest by working the census, he allowed me to work the census. We do have families struggling in our city municipality, and it takes great pleasure to be here to tell you first and foremost that what you do, self-help, is a tremendous tool for us in the mayor's office. We're on the front lines. I wish I had my liaisons here with me. They were at another event representing the mayor's office, but what we do each and every day to supply fuel to the people is the utmost importance during the winter times. We are going through probably, I'd say, one of the worst winters this year. I can attest to what the congressman and senator said, that I know when we see like warmer winters 2 in a row, we're probably going to have 3 storms in a row that we're going to end up, at least myself, having tendonitis in my shoulder. I don't look forward to. But as far as our senators, Senator Markey, Senator Warren, Senator Brady, and Congressman Lynch, the strides they take in all the elected officials, I really commend their efforts all the way to the people on the front lines answering the phones. It's important that everyone join the effort for the Commonwealth. It's my pleasure and distinct honor to mention Joseph Moakley. I was blessed when I came out of the Marine Corps to meet Joe Moakley, who came from, just like Congressman Lynch, the setting in Boston where they know what it takes to be at the forefront. And working Joe Moakley, Congressman Moakley, I was allowed to be part of his presence. He backed the police union. My father was 40 years decorated sergeant detective in Boston. And what he did for Boston, what Congressman Lynch is doing, representing his district, it's my honor to mention his name, the late Congressman Moakley. So with that said, I do want to just emphasize the importance of the continued efforts and the work. I personally would like to let everybody know, this is live streaming, hopefully, but I can say live, that please reach out. Anybody in Brockton, we are here to assist, even surrounding cities and towns. We do extend that offer to be able to link and connect those people to the services in their towns. We don't just stop if it's not just Brockton. We're a community around this municipality. And I really want to emphasize Eva and Joseph, who left, and I applaud him for going back to work, which I'll be doing too. Just your heartfelt stories, they really hit home. And I'll tell you, I have constituents that I help, and that's why we don't give up. We want to be there for them. We want to make sure we connect the dots and all the way. And last but not least, I do want to commend you, Peter, because you are at the top and you're there to make sure the Commonwealth, everything's in place for us. So with that said, I do have 2 more events I do have to go to represent the mayor, but it's a blessing to be here. Thank you so much. And anything you need, please reach out. Okay.
Thank you, John. And thank you, Senator. And thanks to everybody who's spoken so far and those who will. Eva, thank you. And Joseph. everybody's perspective, everybody's got a slightly different perspective on this. And that's what's also really important about today. The Congressman mentioned the delegation, and it is a unified delegation around this effort. And so we'd like now to to invite Senator Markey to speak via video, but this has been recorded. I think Lisa can cue it up.
Thank MASSCAP, Self-Help Incorporated, and the Massachusetts Energy Directors Association for convening this event. Very timely, very important. American families have been struggling to pay for their energy bills as a result of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and rising fossil fuel prices brought on by Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And it's made it harder than ever for Massachusetts families to afford to heat their homes. So we have a challenge. Thank you all for doing the work, because it's become clear that high energy prices this winter will be especially challenging for our citizens. According to some predictions, electric bills and heating oil bills are expected to rise more than 60%, and natural gas prices are forecasted to rise by 22% this winter. With rising energy prices and freezing winter weather just around the corner, the need for an increase in funding for the invaluable low-income home energy assistance program could not be more clear. LIHEAP. I was there in 1981 when we created this program. It's a critical lifeline that helps millions of Americans and up to 160,000 Massachusetts households keep the heat on during the cold winter months each and every year. But for too long, insufficient funding levels, outreach challenges, and other barriers have often prevented the program from reaching everyone who needs it and who qualifies for assistance. Currently, it's estimated that only 16% of households eligible for LIHEAP are actually served. And that just has to change, especially this coming winter, because we're going to see more and more people who need it. And I'm pleased that the recently passed short-term government spending package included $1 billion increase for LIHEAP program. There is still a lot more that we're going to have to do in order to ensure that home energy funding is reaching every family that deserves it and needs it in Massachusetts and across our country. And that's why I joined with my friend, Congressman Jamal Bowman, in January to introduce the Heating and Cooling Relief Act of 2022 to expand and transform LIHEAP so that it works for every family and ensures it works for a climate-safe future. My Heating and Cooling Relief Act of 2022 would invest $40 billion annually to fund LIHEAP and expand the program so more households are eligible for these life-saving funds. Help end energy poverty for households across the country and help free families from their dependence upon globally priced fossil fuels. And we can see what Saudi Arabia and Russia are doing right now. So we're going to have to promote weatherization, promote renewable energy usage, but we need the funding right now for LIHEAP. We need another $1.5 billion in LIHEAP funds for Massachusetts every year, enough funds to ensure that no household pays more than 3% of its annual income on energy costs, and it will provide funds for families to help clear their utility debt. In addition to fighting to pass the Heating and Cooling Relief Act, I have repeatedly urged the Senate Appropriations Committee and the Biden administration to include robust funding for LIHEAP in our federal budgets. That fight goes on every single year. We have to partner together. I've joined my Massachusetts congressional brethren in requesting that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services expedites the release of LIHEAP funding for this winter. It's going to be a hard fight. We have to be in it. We have to get you the resources. I look forward to continuing to work alongside all of you to ensure that LIHEAP receives the funding and the support it needs to best protect American families. And at the same time, we can protect American families from fossil fuel price spikes by supporting real energy independence, energy efficient homes, and economies powered by American-made renewable energy. That has to be our agenda so that we can end energy poverty once and for all. And we can ensure that every child across Massachusetts has a warm place to sleep at night. Thank you all so much for everything you are doing in order to make this possible.
And to the senator, we thank him. He's, along with our other elected officials, a real champion for the program. We'll hear from Senator Warren a little bit later. But now I want to turn things over to the state level and invite Lou Martin, who's the Director of the Division of Community Services at the Department of Housing and Community Development, to join us. Lou has been with the department for about 25 years and is a true friend of community action. Lou works with Ed Kiley and Deesa Wooden Wade and Lauren Wallace. And we work together with the department in partnership to make sure that the fuel assistance program is run well and that we communicate on a very frequent basis in terms of all aspects of its implementation. And I think we've gotten pretty good at it, wouldn't you say, working together? So Lou, please join.
Thank you, Joe, for the kind words. We also feel we have a great working mutual relationship and appreciate that as well. And thank you for organizing today's kickoff along with the Mass Energy Directors Association. And thank you, John, and yourself help as well for hosting the event. And thanks, John, too, for the little bits of history that you peppered into your speaking points today. So it's always good to know that these programs and this assistance doesn't just come out of nowhere. It originates somewhere, and it's also great to have had the pleasure of listening to our electeds in Washington report out on that a little bit. So thank you for actually putting together a great program. It's really good to be out here with our partners out in the field, in the home energy assistance field. Under Secretary Maddox at the Department of Housing and Community Development sends her regards and her appreciation for the work that you all do. We all share the concern that we are heading into uncharted territory this year. We expect the coming winter to be quite the challenge for renters and homeowners across all income groups, with heat source pricing already to be well beyond last year's costs. In anticipation, by yesterday, the number of new applicants, as referenced earlier, that are queuing up for heating assistance was more than double what it was last year at this time. Returning applicants are also ahead of last year's pace, and this is a concern. They want to make sure that they access funds as early as possible once the program opens. Regarding LIHEAP, in addition to the critical financial assistance it provides, as we've heard, there are other, we've heard very compellingly from Eva and from Joe, connections to other critical resources are two of our energy efficiency programs and weatherization programs, as well as to other services and benefits. These further protect families and individuals during the winter months by reducing energy usage, by making homes safer, connecting them to other vital resources. We do enjoy a true partnership with all of you, and our energy assistance staff appreciate the collaboration of home heating oil. The collaboration, this work cannot happen without the active participation, not just of you folks in the room today, but of the home heating oil and propane vendors, the utility companies, the Mass Department of Public Utilities, the Attorney General's Office, the Mass Law Reform Institute, and especially the local administering agencies like Self-Help who operate the energy programs in communities across the Commonwealth. With the strength of this partnership, we make the most of available resources. And for those resources, we at the DHCD do thank the Massachusetts delegation in DC and our state partners as well in the State House. Thank you to all of you who help deliver these energy assistance programs and services in our communities, helping our neighbors from income eligible wage earners to the most vulnerable households across the state. Your good work is deeply appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lou. Thank you very much. And staying with that theme of implementation, we're going to ask Mary Niddle to join us in a second from Worcester Community Action Council. Mary is the energy director there and is also the chairperson or the president of the Mass Energy Directors Association. Mary, along with Liz, who you'll hear from a little bit later, are our, if you will, resident experts when it comes to implementation. And we call on them far too often, but they are so gracious in terms of their willingness to help. And so I want to ask Mary to come up and talk a little bit more about the program.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks to everybody who's here today. I'm going to give you some real nuts and bolts to take home to your people, your friends and family about this program. But first, I really want to thank Eva. You were amazing. And Liz and I can both attest, and Joe and others, that the crisis that we've been hearing about in home energy costs this year is very real. The anxiety around our clients is very high. And in addition to our local media, who are always very good to covering our stories, we've been contacted by NBC, by NPR, by CNN, and they always want to talk to clients. And I applaud your your courage in coming forward, because a lot of people say, I don't want my neighbors to know this. I don't want my neighbors to know this about me. I feel guilty. I feel like if I take something, I'm taking it away from somebody else. There are all these reasons. And we work day and night to try and encourage people to understand that this program is for you. People have paid into this program. Every day you ever worked, you paid into taxes and things. This is federal money. It is supplemented by utility bills. The money that the utilities use to help us is part of your utility bill. This is here and available for everybody. And helping us get that message out in such an honest way is fantastic. So thank you very much. Worcester is where I work. We serve South and South Central Massachusetts. Every city and town in the state is served by an agency to provide heating assistance. And I'll give you some contact information. So today we're kicking off in Brockton. Every year we do this in a different community. Last year it was in Worcester. So we're glad to be here, and we're glad to share our common expertise. The Massachusetts Energy Directors Association is made up of people who do my job at all of these agencies. We know each other well. We meet regularly. We support each other. We share best practices. We meet with DHCD on a regular basis. We just had our annual training sessions. It is a very, very connected network. And yet, through the magic of community action, each agency can tailor it to the very specific needs of their community. So it's a beautiful program. You can find out what agency serves you at heatinghelpma.org. And I have a phone number for you here, 800-632-8175. That's the Commonwealth's heat line. If you don't know what to do and you call that number, put in your zip code, they'll show you who is going to help you out. Who can apply for heating assistance, right? It is a program for owners and renters. Single family, 2 family, 3 family, 35 family, any sort of occupancy building can be eligible for this program. No matter what your heating source is, you can heat with electric, you can heat with gas, you can heat with oil, propane, kerosene. I have 3 clients that still heat with coal. That is, and it is what it is, right? We're helping people where they are. This is what we're here for. Our energy efficiency programs are working with some of the people who have unmanageable heating systems. A lot of folks who are heating with propane. There's a lot of talk about propane not being available this year. A lot of those folks are converting their heating systems to air source heat pumps, more energy efficient, more predictable, and ready to go with all that renewable energy that the senator was just speaking about. What kind of income do you have to have for this program? The income eligibility for the fuel assistance program in Massachusetts is very generous. An individual person can earn up to $42,400. And that money can come from wages. It can come from Social Security, disability, rental income, self-employment income. And just don't ever count yourself out on an income limit because you want to see how it's going to work in the formulas. We want to put this money out into the community and help people. We want to help you pay your energy bill, and we want to help you with all that energy efficiency work as well. It's convenient to apply. You can apply online through our portals at any of the agencies. There's a link on the state's website to get to the agency that serves you. Agencies take applications in person. They take them over the phone. We take them at councils on aging and at libraries and so forth by appointment. There are many, many ways. We all spend a lot of time out there in the community trying to reach all the people we need to. A lot of our elected officials have people on their staffs that are expert. So if you're calling them, you don't know what to do, they know who to call at our offices and connect with us. Some of the other benefits that we've mentioned, the discounts on utilities, that's if you have a publicly held utility. Some of the municipality owned towns in that don't have the discounts, but they may have other discounts in their towns. But between 25 and 36% discount on utilities, and that's year round. That helps you when it's really hot outside and you're trying to afford your cooling bills. It also helps with protections from shutoff. Individuals who have been verified to be income eligible for these programs are protected from shutoff for non-payment during the winter months. That's a great assistance. And we always want people to know they're still responsible for the bills, but you're protected from shutoff. It's a great benefit and great health. I mean, imagine the young kids coming home from school and the electricity's off and they can't do their homework, or their heating system's not working and they can't take a warm shower. It's a challenge for all of these spiraling pieces of people's lives. We have water and sewer bill assistance for people who have a burden in that area. There, and also, of course, the energy efficiency, the heating systems. We get more thank you notes about heating systems than any other thing. The number of people who say, I was able to stay in my home because you helped me with my heating system. And we're doing, as I said, a lot of conversions to air source heat pumps, really stepping into the future. The weatherization services provided by the Community Action Network are complete and thorough, professional, well-guided. So it's not, the plastic thing on the window and a weather strip on the door. It's not just that at all. It is a large-scale investment in your home and in your community. We address health and safety needs and make sure that when all of this work is done, this home is a healthy and safe place to be with your family. All of these benefits are on one application. So by completing that LIHEAP application online, or if you've received the benefit before and received your renewal in the mail, you can just complete that one application and you're going to be eligible for all of it. You can also apply from now until April 30th. So we hold this event every year at this time because November 1st is the start date of fuel assistance. 10 years ago when I started, a lot of people believed that this was the last day to apply or you would not get any money. You can apply anytime up until April 30th. We'll pay your bills to your utility vendors up to your benefit, or your delivery companies up to your benefit level, going all the way back to November 1st. So it's worth it doing at any time of the year. And if your circumstances change during the year, if your income has been good and come the first of the year, your hours get cut way back, we can review your income. You might get an increase in benefit, or someone who didn't qualify now may qualify then. So everybody here and everybody watching us streaming knows a parent, a sibling, a child, a neighbor, a friend who can benefit from this program. So it's well worth it. And we encourage everybody to jump back in and get that application going. And lastly, to the senator's comments about there being enough. Every household is set with a benefit. We anticipate having enough for the demand that we're going to get and for those applications that we all have in the pipeline. We have 8,000 applications in-house already in Worcester. So a lot of people are applying. There's a lot of anxiety. There's going to be benefit money for these people. We're going to need more so we can increase those benefits, right? So we don't want people to panic and say it's not worth it. There's not going to be any money. We're going to continue advocating until the very last day to get a little bit more. And I think I've covered all of my notes. So I will pass it on and thank everybody very much for being here and being.
Mary. And I'll just segue a little bit from what Mary was saying. And again, thank the Senator for all of your support. We do have a request in for additional state resources, and we are very, very hopeful. Over the years, we've worked with state legislators over many, many years, and about half the time, and we don't always come to the legislature, only when there's a desperate need. And about half the time, there's been a response, which has been so appreciated. So it is a true partnership. I also wanted to note, again, thank you, Mary, for the information. And folks who are watching, go to heatinghelpma.org or the state's portal directly, which is www.toapply.org/mass-LIHEAP. And all of that can be found at our website as well. It's my pleasure to introduce the Massachusetts Fire Marshal, Peter Ostrowski. I found a bio about you recently. And I think it's a little dated because I said to Jake, how long has Fire Marshal been involved with protection and safety? And I said about 30 years. He said, no, it's closer to 40. So 4 decades of this work. So we really thank you for that dedication. And we're so glad that you're here. The fire marshals, fire chiefs and fire marshal and the whole system are behind and have supported our work, fuel systems work for so very long. And they have a very important message about safety when it comes to fuel systems. So please join us.
Oh, good morning. And thank you for the opportunity to join you. Thank you, John and Joe, for this great opportunity to represent the Commonwealth's fire chiefs and the fire service and the Department of Fire Services. Thanks to Congressman Lynch for the kind words and his hard work, to Senators Warren and Markey for their tremendous efforts, to Senator Brady, thank you. We really know how hard you work for the whole Commonwealth and especially for your district, and we greatly appreciate your work, and especially in this space as well. To Mayor Sullivan's office, Joe, very kind words, and I appreciate the work that happens in every city and town. I have been doing this for a little while, and I'm starting to learn about the job. Maybe another 40 years or so, or be in good shape. And thank you all for helping us spread this important message. I think there's been an incredible amount of information that's been passed out today about this incredible program. And I really can't say enough about how important this is to families and to communities. So thank you all for your work in this space. As Eva, I want to just say, I have a little vacation time coming up. So if we need a spokesperson for safety messaging, we may be calling you. Are you sure you weren't in fire prevention before? Because you know what? We know that heating equipment is the main source of carbon monoxide and second leading cause of residential fires in Massachusetts. Over the past 5 years, Massachusetts has experienced more than 6,000 home heating fires. These fires took 14 lives, including firefighters and civilians, from young children to older adults. And last year alone, firefighters detected carbon monoxide at nearly 5,000 calls across Massachusetts. With home energy prices on the rise this season, we're deeply concerned about those numbers going up as well. So first and foremost, I want to emphasize how important it is to have working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms at your home. When you change your clocks next weekend, change your alarms and make sure that the batteries are up to date too. You should replace smoke alarms when they're 10 years old and replace carbon monoxide alarms when they're 5 to 7 years old. If your detector has replaceable batteries, you should replace those twice a year. When we change the clocks, change your batteries or check your alarms. All too often, we see families lose their homes or worse because they weren't protected with working alarms. As Eva pointed out, I want to recognize the whole reason we're here, and that's the great public value that the Home Energy Assistance Program provides. We know that tragedy can strike when people have to choose between keeping warm and keeping safe. And we know that well-maintained heating equipment is much less likely to cause a fire or carbon monoxide leak. The Home Energy Assistance Program can help with those issues and more. It doesn't just help folks save money, it helps save lives. Please take a minute today to see if you're eligible. And if you have any questions about home heating safety, visit our website at mass.gov/keepwarmkeepsafe. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Congratulations on a great kickoff.
Thank you, Fire Marshal. We very much appreciate the partnership. And speaking of partnerships, as John mentioned, in terms of the founding of Community Action, what sort of describes some of our role is in the language of the act that created us. And part of it is to be working so closely with allies in the community when it comes to fuel assistance and other programs. The councils on aging are so critical, oftentimes make referrals and even help us in other ways with our heating help program. So it's my pleasure to introduce Janice Fitzgerald, who's the director of the Brockton Council on Aging. You've been there for a little while. I won't reveal how long, however, but you've been doing that work for quite a long time and now the director. Thank you, Brad.
So, full disclosure, I've been there, been at the Council on Aging. Well, you can tell I'm 25 years old, so I was right out of high school. But seriously, I've been there for a little more than 10 years now. And I first want to say congratulations to Self Help for this beautiful location. It's my first time in here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it also, there's a lot to be said about being towards the end of an agenda. Mostly what I wanted to speak about has already been spoken about. So that's a good thing for me. You can see I made a lot of edits and deletes. Presentation. But thank you very much for having me here today. I feel honored to be amongst these distinguished speakers today. And I'm thankful to be here to talk about or have a conversation with you all about a serious issue, heating issues for our most vulnerable population, our seniors. And thank you to Eva for sharing your story this morning. And unfortunately, that story is much too common, at least in the community. And the anxiety in the community that was mentioned is absolutely real. So we partnered with Self Help probably about 10 years ago as an intake site for older adults age 60 and older in the community. And our partnership with Self Help has been a hallmark of our service to the community. Like most of you and Joseph had mentioned earlier, we have seen a significant increase in the number of people looking for fuel assistance. To date, from the beginning of October, we have already scheduled 40 people for fuel assistance applications. And we're still making appointments, and we are confident that that number is going to far exceed what we've done in past years. And I don't so much rely on the data that's out there and the weathermen that tell us, oh, we have a El Nino, whatever coming our way. I rely on something far more reliable, and that is squirrels. Oh, come on. Squirrels are very reliable. They gather the nuts, they dig the holes, and they bury them to prepare for the winter. I have never seen so many squirrels in my yard as I have this year. So you heard it from me, watch the squirrels. COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated the difficult situation many low-income seniors already found themselves in. No one should ever have to choose between buying food, getting life-sustaining medication, or heating their home in the winter months. When people are forced to look for other avenues to meet daily needs, it puts them in dangerous situations, as we know. Every household in Brockton and in the state should be able to stay warm, safe, and healthy during the cold New England weather. I want to say thank you to MASSCAP, Self-Help, and Massachusetts Energy Directors Association for this campaign to provide fuel assistance and energy efficiency programs to those in need. It will be no surprise that many will be struggling this year with the increased heat costs, and I encourage everyone to apply. The process is easy, and we at the Brockton Council on Aging will be happy to help. I look forward to working with my colleagues and our elected officials to continue to support programs like these, especially during these times of energy cost. Again, thank you so much for inviting me this morning.
Thank you, Janice. We very much appreciate your work and your partnership. Now it's an opportunity to hear from our senior senator, Senator Warren, who as well shares the distinction of being a true champion for community
But MASSCAP. I sure wish I could be with you today in Brockton for this terrific event, but I'm really glad to have an opportunity to share this message. The work that the Massachusetts Association of Community Action does on a daily basis is crucial to ensuring the well-being of our families in the Commonwealth. LIHEAP serves a lifeline for millions of families. No family should have to make the decision between paying their bills to keep their children warm, putting food on the table, and keeping the lights on. And LIHEAP helps families avoid having to make that kind of terrible choice. In the Commonwealth, LIHEAP serves up to 160,000 households every year. MASSCAP reaches out to families in need every year to ensure as much participation as possible. And I just want to commend you for your important work on this. I've pushed consistently in the Senate for more and for expedited LIHEAP funding, and I'm going to keep on doing so with all of my Senate colleagues. I recently joined the rest of the Massachusetts delegation in calling on the Biden administration to expedite the release of LIHEAP funds so that we could help families prepare for the coming winter. And we're going to continue to push for more funding to help communities right here in Massachusetts. I am also excited that funding from the Inflation Reduction Act will help families weatherize and electrify their homes so that we can bring down energy bills all across the board. So to everyone who is here today, thank you so much for the work that you do to support our communities. I look forward to continuing the work and the partnership that we've established. Thank you to the advocates, the local officials, the LIHEAP recipients. We're all in this work together, and together is how we get it done.
So we're almost at the end, folks. Thank you for the wonderful comments, and I hope you felt it was time well spent. I feel that way, and thank you for DHCD coming today. They are our partners. They give us our marching orders. They watch over things, and they keep us out of prison. So that's speaking of prison. So we're going to wrap up this program. Liz Barabee, she is the director of Citizens for Citizens. And as Joe mentioned earlier, she was in the fuel assistance field before that she came into this position for 40 years. So Liz really does know everything about fuel assistance. So at our MASSCAP meetings, especially if there are other meetings through the state, we leverage her experience. So she's been a great support to us, great support to every single community action agency. And so we're very lucky. And Liz, you're going to be closing the show. So come on up.
Well, thank you for the kind words, John. I'm so happy to be here with our sister agency, Self Help, and I really value the friendship that John and I have. And being the closer, everyone's probably thrilled that it's at the end. It doesn't have the perks, as Janice was saying, because everybody has said everything. But everyone who knows me, I always have that last word. So I will just say a few things. First of all, I would like to extend a big thank you to our federal, state, local legislators who advocate for additional funding for our home energy assistance program each year. Currently, we are working with the senators and trying to get the LIHEAP allocation released immediately. We need it now. We needed it actually weeks ago so we can be prepared for the November 1st start date. It's too bad that Senator Brady ran out right before, because I was going to try to grab him for the 50 million we want from the state. So we are advocating for up to 50 million in the final supplemental state budget. And we've, as Joe mentioned, we don't usually cry wolf. We only ask for state funding when we need it. And just hearing about the oil, NCLC, Charlie Herrick is a great partner of ours as well. He sent an email this morning that the price of oil went up 40 cents from last week to this week. Then you're hearing about the kerosene issues, the propane issues, a 64% increase in NGRID. It's, it's devastating. But we don't want anyone to feel that they shouldn't apply. We don't want to deter anyone with that. So I would also like to give a big shout out to our governor's office, who's been very supportive, the AG's office, but most importantly, DHCD. They are our partners whom we work with on a daily basis. They probably don't like that, but I had to laugh when somebody called him Mr. Kiley. I'm like, is that father here? But we have a wonderful, positive working relationship with DHCD. Lou, we thank you for all the hard work you do. And it makes it just easier to service the households, the many households that we do each year. Lauren Wallace is our CFC monitor, as well as self-helps. And Deetza, who's leaving us to pursue a grandmother role, I'm sure. We wish her well. But finally, I want everyone to leave with 3 takeaways from today. So number 1, our guidelines are very liberal. And people would be pleasantly surprised if they saw them. For a single person, you can make up to $42,411. For a couple or 2 people in the household, $55,461. But for a family of 4, we're talking about $81,561. These guidelines are clearly to help people who work. They do everything right. They get up in the morning and they go to work. Well, I used to say they drive to work, but now they can just go to their in-house office. But they are employed. And these families are probably not eligible for any other benefits in the Commonwealth. But HEAP, LIHEAP, whatever we want to call it, fuel assistance is here for them. Number 2, the fringe benefits are huge. So not only are we going to help you with your heating bill, but we're also going to help you with your water bill, if you have a water bill. There's discounts, as Mary mentioned, anywhere from 25 to 36%. We have the appliance replacement program. We have heating system replacements that we helped Eva and Joseph with. And we have specialized forgiveness payment plans within the utilities. So all of these together, it's like a holistic approach to our application. And it just makes the fuel dollars stretch more. And finally, Joe has said this one, I'm like, everybody's taken everything that I've said. Apply. Don't lose out. Don't say someone else needs it more than you do. This is the program for you. I think Janice left, but I can't say enough about the Council on Agings. I think all of us that, run the programs, they're like angels. you know, and some of them, like in our area, you don't even have to be an elder. They take care of families as well. So if a young family comes in, they're not saying, oh, you're not 55 or older, or you're not sick, whatever, you know, the elder age is these days. I say I was a little depressed when I got the AARP card. You know, I think it was only like 50. It's like, you know, then I saw all the discounts and I said, this is okay, you know. So yes, we can't thank the Council on Aging enough. But we have made it more convenient, as Mary said. There's many ways to apply. You can do it in person. Many of the agencies are still seeing people face to face. Well, we're all seeing people face to face. And some people like to come in. Some people don't want to be online. That's fine. That's what we're here for. But we also do it by phone, and we also have the online portal. So we just don't want anyone doing anything dangerous, as our fire marshal explained. We want you to stay warm. And quoting Eva and our fire marshal, this program saves lives. So a big thank you to Eva. Yeah, you were great. And Joseph, who's not here, but maybe he'll watch us later, or, you know. So with that said, this will basically conclude our meeting. And we are here if anybody has any questions. But just remember, you can access it by going to heatinghelpma.org, or go to the MassGov website and you can click on that www.toapply.org/masslife. So please stay safe, and please, you know, access us. You have until April 30th. Thank you, John, for being the host with the most. And that's all I have to say.